Do we like this setup? I kind of like it. I feel like it's warm, cozy. Okay, so this is going to be a quick video. I just wanted to share some encouragement specifically for women. I was reading the genealogy of Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 1 a couple years back, and I've read this before, but you know what, there's some parts of the scriptures like the genealogy or the list of laws where you're just reading it and it's just like, okay, what's next? Because you're just reading this person begot this person and this person begot that person. It can kind of seem a little bit meaningless, but I remember I was reading Matthew chapter 1 and reading the genealogy of Jesus Christ, and there were some things that stuck out at me, and as I looked more into it, it ended up really encouraging me. And so here in the genealogy, it starts off with, Abraham begot Isaac, Isaac begot Jacob, Jacob begot Judah and his brothers, Judah begot Perez and Zerah by Tamar, Perez begot Hezron, and Hezron begot Ram, Ram begot Amminadab, Amminadab begot Nahshon, Nahshon begot Salmon, Salmon begot Boaz by Rahab, Boaz begot Obed by Ruth, Obed begot Jesse, Jesse begot David the king, and it keeps on going and going and going and going. What's interesting though is that with genealogy, usually only the men are mentioned from father to son, father to son, father to son. But here, for some reason, there are 5 women mentioned. One of them is obviously Mary, who gave birth to Jesus Christ. But there's also a woman named Tamar, a woman named Rahab, a woman named Ruth, and the wife of Uriah. And it piqued my interest. I wondered, why would God see the need to include their names here, where typically the women's names are omitted? And when I looked into the story of these women, it helped me to understand the nature and the heart of God, especially seeing that he would choose to have them here, front and center, not hidden. And so today I want to specifically highlight 2 of these women, one being Tamar and one being Rahab. So the story of Tamar can be found in Genesis chapter 38. I'm not going to go through and read the entire thing, but I will kind of give a summary of the situation and what happened here. So Tamar is the daughter-in-law of Judah. Judah has 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. Tamar is married to but is a wicked guy, and this is not pleasing to the Lord. So the Lord takes him out. And the custom at this time is that if a woman becomes widowed, the brother of the deceased husband has the duty to give this woman children so that there can be an heir, so that the family line can continue on. And so Onan is supposed to do this for Tamar. So Judah tells his son Onan, go into your dead brother's wife and give her children. Well, Onan decides that he doesn't want to get her pregnant, and he spills his seed. This also wasn't pleasing to the Lord, and so the Lord takes Onan out as well. And so now Judah has lost 2 sons. He's lost he's lost Onan, he only has Shelah left. And so he tells Tamar, my son is too young, but go back to your father's house. When my son is of age, I will go ahead and call you to come. He'll marry you, give you the children, etc., etc. But Judah was lying, because he said, my 3rd son's not about to die as well. All my 2 sons have died. The common factor is you're not about to have my 3rd son as well. So Judah lies to her basically to get her to go, and he makes a fake promise that he's going to go ahead and give her his 3rd son once he's old enough. Well, the time comes, and Tamar realizes that Judah is not going to come through with his word, and that he essentially lies. Well, Judah's wife dies, and he's grieving, he's mourning, and he's traveling up to one city, and Tamar gets word that, hey, your father-in-law is going to be up in this city. So she comes up with a plan, and she disguises herself, dresses up as a prostitute, and long story short, Judah, in his compromised state, goes in and he does the do with her. And essentially he gives her collateral to say that, I'm going to come back and give you this, that, and the third. So here's some collateral so that you know that I'm going to give you whatever it is I'm supposed to give you. Some months go by, and Judah gets word that his daughter-in-law Tamar is pregnant. Not only is she's pregnant by means of prostitution. And Judah is furious, and he orders for them to bring her out so that she can be burned alive. Well, Tamar comes and she says, well, the person who got me pregnant, these things belong to him. And then Judah realizes that those are his items, the items that he gave her as collateral. And in that moment, he realizes, I am a terrible person because I promised you my son and I lied to you. And this is the situation that we've ended up in. So that's the story of Tamar. And so she got pregnant by her father-in-law and gave birth to the twins who are listed here in Matthew chapter 1, the twins Perez and Hezron. Tell me that's not crazy. I mean, I'm just thinking about this in modern times. This is like Jerry Springer, Judge Judy, crazy madness. Like, can you imagine this happening today? That your husband dies, your brother-in-law dies, all trying to give you children, and then your father-in-law is the one that you get pregnant by and you give birth to twins. What? It's crazy. Crazy. I mean, this is the epitome of like family drama, mess, the whole nine. Absolutely crazy. But for some reason, because we know that the word is inspired by God, for some reason, God saw it fit to have Tamar's name specifically and explicitly mentioned here in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. He could have omitted it. It could have just had the man's name. It could have just had Judah. But for some reason, Tamar's name is here. And then there's also Rahab. The story of Rahab can be found in Joshua chapter 2. And Rahab lived in the land of Canaan, in Jericho, which was the land that God had promised to the people of Israel that they would go and they would take, and it would be their land. And so 2 spies are sent out from the people of Israel to go out and spy the land, to see what it's about and see what they're up against. Well, while the spies are out in the land, the king of Jericho gets word that spies from Israel have entered into their land. And at this point, these people have heard about what the God of Israel has done. They've heard about how he swallowed up their enemies in the sea and so many other things. So they're a little bit afraid. And so they hear that the spies are in the land. And so the king sends people to Rahab's house, and they're like, where the spies at? And Rahab lies and basically says, oh, they left. If you chase them down now, you might be able to catch up with them at the city gate. And so she basically sends the people away who are looking for the spies in the wrong direction, and she hides the spies in her home. Now, Rahab, she lied, right? But remember, she only knows of the God of Israel. She has heard of what their God has done, but she doesn't actually know the Lord. And so the best thing she knew to do was to lie. I just want to clarify that point so that no one thinks that God is excusing lying. But this is somebody who did not know any better, so she just did what she knew to do. But Rahab was also a prostitute, and the entire course of Rahab's life changes dramatically because her family is the only family that's saved when the children of Israel are given the land of Canaan. And Rahab ends up being grafted in, and now she is here in the genealogy of Jesus Christ because she gave birth to Boaz. And so in both of these stories, you have different kinds of messy situations. Rahab was a prostitute. I don't know if she would have envisioned anything else for her life. I don't know the background to her story. I don't know how she got there. But if we only saw the first half, it would have been safe to assume that her life was just going to be that. And then we have Tamar, who has experienced heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, shame, and has ended up being manipulative and faced trauma and all these different things. And you look at their stories and it's just like, man, if I was you, God, I would probably keep this in the back of the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't put this front and center when you're about to introduce how Jesus Christ came into the world. Like, why put that there? You don't have to put that there. So why'd you put it there? And as I was thinking about it, for me, it started to uncover aspects of God's character. One is just the fact that there is no situation, there's no mistake, there's no thing that you can do or that you could have done that is too messy, too complicated, too unholy, too unrighteous for God to turn around for good and for glory. I mean, when I think about Tamar's story, it just baffles me. Like, this really happened. These were real people who lived through these things. And God was able to take such a crazy situation and turn it around for his good and for his glory. So much so that out of the womb of Tamar, out of the womb of Rahab, and continuing down their bloodline, came the Savior of the world. Continuing on that same point is that the things that are out of my control, the things that have happened, the circumstances surrounding my life, whether I contributed to them or not, whether I had a play in them or not, they are not intimidating to God. When you're in the midst or in the heat of a messy situation, or what feels like a messy life, maybe it's messy familiar relationships, maybe it's mistakes that are creeping up, maybe it's things that you did and you're still living in the consequences of it. When you're in the midst of that, it can be so hard to see how God can still take that and redeem that. But I see here that God is a redeemer of time. This encourages me to know that there is nothing that can cut me off from what God has designed and created me to do and to be. And I'm specifically talking to women because I feel like for women, the way that society is, I feel like we tend to count ourselves out more or disqualify ourselves out more. Even in corporate space, usually women are the ones who tend to deal with imposter syndrome more than men. But I pray that in seeing this, we see that one, God does not count us out. There is nothing that we can do or that we could have done that disqualifies us from God's redemptive plan. But even more than that, God is not ashamed. He's not ashamed of the things that you have done. He's not ashamed of your weakness. Not only was God willing to put this on display here in the Bible, but when he hung on that cross, he put it on display that there is no sin that we could do or that we have already done that would stop him and his love. And despite this mess that Jesus came from as far as his bloodline goes, he was still able to live a sin-free life, a holy life, a righteous life. He was able to fulfill his destiny in God. Regardless of the bloodline I come from, regardless of what has happened before I entered the world or even while I was here, I am able to live and fulfill my calling and destiny in Christ because he says all things work together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So I pray this was encouraging to you. If there is anything at all that blessed you, feel free to leave a comment down below and stay tuned for the next video. I hope you stick around.
Copy out the key and tell her this is for becoming. Even in the fever, baby, cry and get to running. And tell her that you better get your bootstraps.